Can't say good morning enough times. Good morning! Welcome to One Heart, One Mind Center for Spiritual Living. I am Reverend Michelle Ingalls, and today we are talking about everybody is beautiful on this beautiful February 9th morning. Even though it's a little overcast and cloudy, it's still beautiful. Everybody's beautiful. Could you take a deep breath with me and say this affirmation with me out loud? God within me, please help me to know the truth about myself, no matter how beautiful it is. Isn't it? Me too. You know, if you're anything like me, you might be, I tend to think about the things I want to change about my body more than I think about the things that I'm satisfied with. But I mean, honestly, think about it. We are this point of consciousness, this point of expression from this larger divine life housed in this incredible body. This incredible house so that we can become this vehicle to express and to experience the love and the presence of the divine in physical form. I mean, that's pretty dang incredible. Our bodies are sacred. They're sacred. And you know, I've noticed that in centers for spiritual living, in all spiritual centers and temples and in churches of all kinds, we use words like that a lot. We say sacred and grace and blessing and divine love or God's love. We say that a lot. And if your experience was similar to mine growing up, those were words that we just used on Sunday. Those were words that we saved for those moments of quiet prayer in the morning or in our evening prayers. They weren't words that we actually lived. And that's what I love about the science of mind philosophy, New Thought in general, and other philosophies as well, is that we get to live these words. I mean, because what is sacred anyway? It's whatever we believe it to be. Everything is sacred if we see it that way. Anything can be profane or sacred. It's up to us to decide whether our bodies are these sacred temples for the activity of the divine, or whether or not we just need to lose a little weight. And what's grace? Anyway, grace is the activity of the divine in its creation. And we can see that if we look for it. Grace is something that we can allow ourselves to experience. And what is a blessing? If we look around us, we can see blessings everywhere. The divine givingness, the infinite eternal givingness of God moving through its creation. We can see it everywhere. We are blessed. And as we know that we are receiving the blessings of this larger life, we bless others. We confer good upon it. And what is divine love? Divine love is the activity of our souls and our being and our lives moving in and we experience as much of it as we allow ourselves to experience. As much as it as we allow. So that's what we're talking about this month. All the colors of love. We're all about love. We're about the love of our source, the God, whatever it is, however you understand it to be. We're about the love of life. We're about the love of ourselves. We're about the love of our human brothers and sisters. And we're about the love of all creation. And we can experience it to the degree that we decide we're going to experience. Our beautiful founder, everything's beautiful today apparently, our wonderful founder, Dr. Ernest Holmes, said this about love. He said, love is the central flame of the universe, nay, the very fire itself. Can you feel that? That's what that loving power and presence is. So, you know, I've noticed that often, culturally, we tend to ascribe to love the qualities of sentimentality and romantic love, and that's just half true. And while that is part of it, that isn't the kind of love we're talking about here. We're talking about strong, steady, unconditional, foundational love, the love in which everything is born from. Can you ever feel that within you, that swelling, that surge, that invitation, that wanting to participate in life in a fuller and deeper way? That is life loving you and calling you forward in a new way. Oh, let's take a minute. Breathe in. Feel how you are called to a fuller expression of life, because you are an expression of the divine, housed in the most beautiful, the most lovely temple, sacred divinity known as your body. Can you feel that? Gives me goosebumps, gives me God bumps. So, and oftentimes, I don't know if you've noticed this, love is not always that overt. You can't always recognize it. Sometimes you got to dig a little deeper. Sometimes you have to pause and let the love in yourself well up so that it can recognize the love that's going on all around you. I'm sure none of you have noticed that you have to dig a little deeper. But here's what I know for sure. That because we are these points of expression for divine love, wherever I go, I can bring it. That kind of love that we're talking about is not only found out in the world, although we can recognize it, we are it. We are it. So wherever I go, I can decide to be the presence of love. I don't have to wait for it to be bestowed upon me. It's just like the prayer of St. Francis of Assisi. I love that. Well, even though St. Francis did not actually write this prayer, it certainly exemplifies his life. So, you notice that he doesn't beseech in this prayer. He says, Lord, I'm going to say, love, make me an instrument of your peace. Help me to recognize that I am already it, right here, right now. And then he affirms. He doesn't ask. He doesn't beseech anything outside himself. He affirms that where there is injury, he will be pardoned. I will be pardoned. Where there is doubt, faith, despair, hope, darkness, light, sadness, joy, I am it already. You know what? If I walk in and something is missing in any situation, I can bring it. Because that's who we are. We are these beautiful embodiments of everything that God is. We are it. We are the presence and the power. And God, Spirit, whatever it is, the thing itself, however you describe and experience that source, has differentiated itself into life that looks separate, even though we are all unified in that one life. And it's so tempting to believe that I'm separate. But have you noticed that many of us spend much of our lives looking for the peace and the presence and the centeredness of that unity, of the comfort of that unity. And a lot of times we look in places where we think we're going to find it to draw it in when we're already it. Ernest Holmes, in that same passage, but now that's not what I'm going to say. I wanted to talk about something else. I'll do the rest of that passage from Ernest Holmes in a minute. But I ran across this story. Oh, wait, I'm on the wrong page. And I hardly ever refer to my notes. And this morning as I was coming to the center, I thought, today I'm going to refer to my notes so I make sure that I don't leave anything out. Well, wouldn't you know, I have the numbers wrong. So we're going to just kind of go with the flow here, and I'm going to give you that quote that I was talking about. Did I put it up here? So this is after he says, love is the central flame of the universe, nay, the very fire itself. This is in that same passage, and I just love this. He says that the essence and love of love, while elusive, and sometimes it seems that way, pervades everything. It fires the heart. It stimulates emotions. It renews the soul and proclaims the spirit. Only love knows love. How cool is that? Only love knows love. So when we feel the presence of love within us, we're going to see it everywhere around us. And love knows only love. So when I'm tempted to go into judgment about something that I see outside of me, and oh wow, that's weird, if I am in the presence of love, all I can see is love. Wow. Words cannot express its depth or meaning. A universal sense alone bears witness to the divine fact that God is love, and love is God, and we are expressions of God. So we are expressions of love. It's our natural home. It's where we live. It's where we feel comfortable and where we dwell when we reconnect and go there in a deeper way. You know, living a spiritual life is not always easy. I don't know if any of you have noticed that or not. But becoming consciously aware of what we're thinking and feeling and how we're behaving and what we're bringing into the world is like walking on one of those balance beams. Because literally we are living in two worlds. We are living in the world of consciousness because we're connected to this infinite mind that has everything within it and potential and possibility, and we're also living in human form. So we're doing this lovely little dance in the middle of balance, of deciding that we connect with consciousness and we let that drive our actions in the world. That consciousness is causal to everything we are. We get to do this lovely little dance, and I don't know about you, but sometimes I get off track. You ever forget and think that you're a victim of life rather than the creator of your life? I do. And so what can I do about that? I can draw myself home. And the more I draw myself home, the more I am secure in the fact that I am living in the foundational experience of love, the structure of love, the more I lean towards the choices that point me to a more loving experience. The more I'm able to say, oh, yeah, you know what? That's not working for me right now. So I was going to share this story. I started to share it a minute ago and then I got off track. But it's this great story by Mark Nepo. Everybody know who Mark Nepo is? 7,000 Ways to Listen. This is from a book called Endless Practice, which is really what life is. It's endless practice. And it's a lovely story, and it's called Deep Love. And I'm just going to read it because it was so beautiful. I thought if I paraphrase it, I'll miss the meaning. So he writes, despite our culture's overemphasis on doing, there is a rightful place and time to get things done. In truth, there is very little we cannot do. Much of the time, we just lack either the ability to envision the dream built, I don't know if anybody's ever had that problem, or the confidence that we can build it. I remember early on how my grandmother would encourage me to envision even the smallest dreams down through my hands and into the world. I love this. She would say, see it here, pointing to my forehead. And then she would take both my little hands and say, now see it here. Then she would laugh and say, and soon you will see it here. And she'd point out into the room. Wow. See it here. See it here. See it here. It's the creative process. It's an amazing thing about being human that we can feel something inside and then build it in the world. It seems we have this inborn need to love and to create. At their deepest, these drives of spirit appear to be the same. For through her love, wasn't Grandma creating me? I really believe that's true. Don't we help birth one another the instant we encourage them to see with their hearts? Don't we help birth the world each time we give someone confidence to build what they see with their heart? Somehow we are meant to wrestle the earth. Wood, clay, marble into forms, to seize the air, notes, word, colors, and signs. Meant to hold other breathing questions like ourselves and shudder as we part. I go on, as if to declare that life is worth living. It makes me ask with joy, what shall we fall in love with tonight? To what color shall we devote our being? What instrument shall we be playing next? Wow. You know, I don't know about you, but when I am practicing the presence of love in my life, I am always thinking about things that I want to create and do. And if I sit still too long, I'll get the 2x4. Get up, do it. You ever got the 2x4? So I really believe that this story calls us to that deeper, innate nature that is within us, that is constantly calling us forward to create something new. And love inspires that. Love is the motivating, the catalyst and the force that moves us on to move beyond our imposed limits. How many times have you set limits for yourself? How many times have you argued for your limitations? Oh, I can't do that, I'm too old. Oh, I can't do that, I have to go back to school. Oh, I can't do that. How many times have you argued for your limits when God, if he has placed it, whatever you want to call that presence, has placed something on your heart that is singing to you, is calling you to do it. And my experience is that once I make a decision that that's what I want to do, everything lines up to support that decision. Anybody ever have that experience? Oh, wow, look, the doors are opening. When I make a firm decision and set an intention that this is the way I want to go, things line up. I heard a yes. Amen. So, balance. Life is about balance. And really, when you think about it, we are just as much part of the divine order and the divine balance of the all that is, of divine presence, as we are love and all of the other wonderful aspects that are present within this divine beingness. And we talk a lot about law, about divine right order, about how life moves in an ever-expanding expression of love. And when something changes on the outside, love balances it out in the world of form. I wasn't going to tell this story, but it just popped into my head. When I think I've told it before. When I was about 12 or so, my dad was a scientist. He was an entomologist. When I was about 12 or so, my sister and I were in the kitchen, and we were doing the dishes, which took us hours and hours because we were really on the phone with the boys. And so we'd close all the windows. It was a cold winter day. We'd close all the windows, and we had the hot water running, so the whole kitchen was all steamy, and the windows were all fogged up. And my dad came into the room, and he went, "What are you guys doing?" He threw open the windows, and he says to me, "Do you know what's happening right now?" And I'm like 12, scratching my head. No, I don't know what's happening right now. And he said, "The cold air is rushing into the kitchen and the warm air is rushing out outside because life always seeks to balance itself." And I never forgot that lesson. Life seeks to balance itself. Nature balances itself. All you have to do is look outside in nature and see that it is an intricate pattern of balance and checks and coming into equilibrium and into homeostasis. Our bodies do it all the time. We are always seeking to balance our lives. And I've noticed that when I am the most centered in the divine consciousness, I am the most balanced. And then I understand that my thoughts and my feelings and my behaviors in the world are causal to everything I see. And I move into a greater expression of making those choices that move me towards a greater experience of love. Does that make sense? So I've been reading this book. I've been writing a curriculum for Centers for Spiritual Living, and it's called Spirit, Mind, Body. And the textbook that I'm using to write it is called Mind Over Medicine by Lisa Rankin. Leslie kind of turned me onto it first. And in there, she talks about her own health experience and what her data has shown as she's done tons and tons of data. She was a straight ahead medical physician. She had a regular practice where she saw each client, each patient 10 minutes, and she burned out because she realized that she wasn't really helping people and she wasn't really addressing their needs. She got sick herself, and then she had to find her way back to health. And what she decided was that the thing that contributed the most to general well-being was balance. And she writes, I'm going to read it to you. This is a cairn. It's a stack of rocks that's balanced precariously. And she writes about that in her book, and she said, like a cairn, the body is awe-inspiringly strong and resilient, and at the same time, fragile and easy to tip out of balance. Yeah. If whole health is a stack of balanced stones, the body is the stone on top. She has a little diagram. The most precarious, the most likely to tumble if other stones shift. And as I learned on my own self-healing journey, the foundation stone, the one upon which everything else builds, is your inner pilot light. I know it's hard to see. That's why I did the little arrow. It's your inner pilot light. What could that be? Our inner pilot light is the foundational presence of the divine within us. It's love. It calls us to assist. And when everything is built on that, everything else balances. And isn't it true that, I don't know if it's true for you, I know it's true for me, if something else in my life gets off balance, that it will affect my health, that I'll see it in the way I feel. It'll hit me emotionally first, and then the emotional disturbance will hit some body part. Oh, so let me finish. That inner knowing, the healing wisdom of your body and soul that knows what's true for you and guides you in your own unique way to better health. So it's all about balance. I really believe that's true. And the more I practice this philosophy, the more I realize that it is this constant dance of being in consciousness, of doing my spiritual practice, and then allowing that to drive, to inform, to feed everything I do in form. So when I move out of that place, when I go into a lovely little pity party about what life is bringing me, what can I do? How do I maintain that balance in my life? Well, the first thing I try to do is look at my self-talk. Yeah. If I'm talking bad about myself, if I'm talking smack about myself, I have to look at that and say, well, is that true? Do I really believe that about myself? Or do I believe that I am a point of expression for divine love? And that in alignment with that, I can shift these things. And as I was saying earlier, I'm always looking for things that I'd like to change about my body, about my life. I'm looking at my deficits. You know what I've discovered? I've discovered that my deficits can be turned into assets. One of the things, I think I've said this here before, but one of the things that haunted me as I was growing up as a child is my mother was always trying to get me to be quiet, because I'm always big and bold and loud. I have a loud voice, I'm big, and my mother was always kind of trying to squash me down, because she had 7 kids, and who needs a loud one? So she was kind of trying to get me to be quiet. And as I grew up, I always felt a little guilty, a little bad about that. There was this general kind of sense of unworthiness because I was so loud. But guess what? As I grew up and I became a teacher and a minister, that loudness, that big, bold voice has served me really well. So look at your deficits. How can they actually be your gifts? How do they actually serve you? Think about that. Think about when you go into judgment about yourself, are you more easily going into judgment about others? Because, if the blame's over there, then I'm not so bad. Ever notice that? When we're not feeling good about ourselves, we're certainly not feeling good about anybody else. So balance, I think, is really the key here. I really think that a spiritual life, a life grounded in the awareness of who and what we are in a deeper way, calls us to be balanced. Because when I'm balanced, I'm feeling calm, peaceful, creative, inspired, just at home wherever I am. So, is it Thursday or Friday that's Valentine's Day? Friday is Valentine's Day. And generally, we celebrate romantic love on Valentine's Day. But since we're talking about romantic love being only half true, I thought we could go a little bit deeper with this. There is a Gnosticism is a sect of Christianity. It was once one part of the mystery religions that grew up around Rome, the time right after the death of Jesus. Could we just pass these around? And there are the Gnostic Gospels, which were discovered in Egypt, in Nag Hammadi in Egypt. You may have heard of the Gospel of Thomas, the Gospel of Mary Magdalene. These are wonderful books that are available. But one of the Gnostic traditions, one of the Gnostic ceremonies is called the mystic marriage. And what the mystic marriage is the marriage of the divine self to the human self. It's the marriage of these two halves that I've been talking about. They're really not halves at all. They're both whole, complete, and perfect. But it's an acknowledgement that I am divine and I am human. And this is how it looks when I draw those together in this human experience that is both divine and human. Does everybody have a sheet? So I'm going to read. Are you game? You want to play? Everybody want to play? Okay. So I'm going to read a little intro, and then we're going to read the prayer, the ceremony that marries, that acknowledges who and what we are. So the mystic marriage goes like this. Today we gather together to celebrate what has been called the mystic marriage. It is a recognition of the marriage of our humanness and our divinity. It is an acknowledgement of our finite consciousness, our distinct individuality, embracing our infinite self, our spiritual or divine self, and it's love at first sight. The rush of our finite being into our infinite being is an embrace we will never forget and will never want to leave. Our feeling nature becomes one with our knowing nature. Our small will has met and abides for a time in the greater will. It is a commitment ceremony to the unfolding of the most intimate relationship we will ever know, loving the God within us for the deeper recognition of the God all around us. So let's say the ceremony, the prayer together. And I put pause after each line because sometimes when we read prayers or go through ceremonies, we race through them so quickly that we miss the meaning. And it takes a minute for our head to embody something within our heart. So I'm going to invite you to pause with me. You can take a short breath. All right, let's read together. This day, I renew my commitment to my divine nature. I pledge to love, laugh, and live in harmony with all aspects of the God expressing as me. I have faith in myself. I fashion all my relationships from this divine love within me. I know that the blessings of the infinite present are present within me today. I honor myself with faith, hope, and love, knowing that the greatest of these is love. I nurture a relationship with myself that is centered in harmony and anchored in the heart of God within me. My charge now is to deepen my sacred relationship and let my heart sing with it in divine harmony. And so it is. The marriage So I'm going to take this presence of calm and peace and move us right into a spiritual mind treatment, or affirmative prayer as we call it. I know all there is God. It is the energy, the presence, the power, the beauty, the wisdom, the love that has sparked all creation. And that creation is sitting right where you are, right in the chair. It is beside you, in front of you, all around you. So I speak my word for and about every person that is present here in this room, and every person that is not. I speak my word for and about our divine mother, our beautiful planet. I speak my word for about our beloved country and all of its inhabitants and all of its life. I speak my word for and about all life on this beautiful round orb spinning through space. I speak my word that there is a shift in consciousness, an openness, and a new way of being and experiencing this divine life that is animating all we are, all we have, all we do, all we ever will do or ever have been. It is all that is. And there is an opening for us to experience it in a fresh new way, to fall in love with this human body that we inhabit, that walks around and expresses the divine presence of love and life and God everywhere. It brings heaven to earth, for we are emissaries from the metaphorical heaven. We are emissaries for this divine life being human. So I know that each and every person is experiencing a new way of being within that life. And it moves through and inhabits every area of our lives. Our divine bodies, our relationships, our careers, our finances, every area is blessed, is graced, is sacred in the presence of this divine love. For it is all that is. We say yes. We say yes to all of it, to this new way of thinking and feeling and being, to this new faith, this new way to feel as if the thing has happened, because it already has in the divine mind, and it is now making its way into demonstration in form. It has no choice. We have set it into motion. It just manifests. Thank you, God, for the ability to create our lives. Thank you, God, for the ability to be the presence of love wherever we are, to be the presence of whatever is needed in any situation where we arrive, for we are all it. So I just say thank you for this. I know that as I speak these words, they are already so, that divine law has grabbed a hold of them and is making it happen. So I relax in that, knowing full well that all is well. So we rest, we say thank you, and together we signify our agreement by saying, and so it is. Now that you are all married up, your divine being to your human being, your human expression, life and love. I don't think I had anything else. No?